Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Speak No Evil, the new American remake of the Danish horror film from writers and brothers Christian Taftrup and Mads Taftrup. And this is written and directed by James Watkins and focuses on an American couple played by Scoot McNairy, Mackenzie Davis, and their young daughter played by Alex West Leffler, who are living in London and are on holiday in Italy and meet this British couple, Patty, played by James McAvoy, and Cara, played by Aisling Franciosi, and Franciosi previously in The Nightingale from Jennifer Kent, and James McAvoy is by far the biggest name in this film, and honestly, the biggest selling point. And they connect on holiday. This couple's very charismatic and edgy and free and fun, and you have McNairy and Davis's characters who you could tell there's issues in their relationship and there's tension there, and maybe this is a good thing for them to get out, into a completely secluded British farm where nobody can hear you scream. Of course, perfect horror movie setup. Now, I feel like Watkins does a really good job of building tension and suspense and shooting this film in that really effective, modern horror kind of way for the first 2/3, I would say, of this movie. Those aspects of the film, sure, it might take a little while. This is an hour and 50 minutes. Did it need to be? Maybe that second act could have been tightened a little bit, but I feel like it's so entertaining to watch and never knowing when the ball's gonna drop on this crazy story, because from the start this couple is not right, and you're just like, and it keeps pulling you, and maybe after a while you're like, what if the twist is we're the problem? And you keep getting that feeling of maybe we're misjudging them and the film's playing with you in the right exact kind of way, until it blows off and stuff happens. And I feel like this film really develops that tension. James McAvoy is a force in this film. Everything he does, every little choice, facial expression, everything just adds so much to this movie, and he's the biggest selling point of this movie by far. And his performance really casts a big shadow on everybody else. Scoot McNairy doesn't get a whole lot of leading roles, and I think he does a really good job with this. Franciosi does a great job as well in supporting McAvoy. They have some interesting chemistry, and she gets to show some emotional layers. I feel like Mackenzie Davis does a really good job portraying her character for 2/3 of this movie. And I'm going to get into the third act in a minute, but I feel like the building and the suspense of everything is the most effective piece of this film. And you have Dan Haught, who plays this young boy who has a small tongue. I don't know. That tongue doesn't look small, it looks gone. And what's really frustrating is that they kept showing that in the trailers, and you're just like, okay, I don't feel like you're supposed to have done that, but whatever. There is more to this story, and when you start to really understand what's really going on, it's really effed up. And you're just sitting there like, holy crap, there's something crazy and wild going on in this movie. And then you get into the third act, because there's a lot of setup, there's a lot of commentary on parenting and approaches and marriage and relationships, and then the third act feels like it completely turns into a different kind of movie. It's still an entertaining, it's like one of those kind of schlocky old 70s kind of horror films. I feel like Watkins kind of shifts gears from I'm making a modern horror film into I want to do some homages to Hooper with Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Wes Craven with some of his early films. And the editing gets choppy, it gets sloppy, it feels like it's raw and barely put together in this small indie kind of feel. And I feel like some of it's trying to hide for bad stunt work when there's some action going on, and that feels a little clunky, and that kind of took me out of the film. And then the whole third act is shot in this way, and you're just like, this is very jarring. Like, if the whole film was shot in this, like, old homage, and, like, I could see this film being an old homage to films like that. It's just, why did it shift gears so much in the third act? And, it turns into a bit of, like, a home invasion type setup, and it has good tension. It's still entertaining. And then one piece of it I do feel like is frustrating is, like, Mackenzie Davis starts overacting everything to a ridiculous, like, her expressions in the third act of this film are just downright ridiculous. And I'm just like, I feel like this film went a little bit off the rails towards the end, and the third act is nowhere near as satisfying as the first two-thirds of this movie. But by the end, it's still, like, the twist really hits in a really messed up kind of way. And it still has, like, that kind of, this specific different kind of brand of horror that's working. And in the end, it's still a really entertaining experience. It's a thrilling experience. It just feels like it got a little lost its way a bit towards the end of the film. But those are my thoughts on Speak No Evil. Let me know what you think and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.